So if you can get your actual heart, if you can get your mind, and if you can get your body aligned to what you're trying to achieve, you will succeed. You'll get to that financial freedom, which is exciting, that joy and abundance that everyone should have.
So the heart and the mind and the body has to connect.
Yeah.
No one talks about this. I've never had it.
Well, it's funny, and this is the financial planning industry, and this is what I spent 20 years in, where it's going, what do you want to achieve? I want to get to $1 million or $2 million, whatever the case may be. So what they do is okay, you got $300,000, we've got to invest it this way to get to that. But what does it mean? And what's your relationship with money? How do you wake up every morning thinking about money? Because generally...
Hey, Melissa here from Connected with Melissa J. Scott, and today I've got a really great guest, Michael de Haan, who I've known for a very long time in lots of different iterations of financial planning, mainly.
Correct.
We've done the networking circle, and you're just a lovely, lovely man. And then I saw what you're up to now, and I thought I really wanted to share you with my audience on the Connected podcast. It's really relevant. Your business is Care to Grow.
Yes.
And it's really around a lot about, I'll just give it a quick summary, but you can summarize it heaps better than I can. It's really around mindset and growth, and what that missing link is for so many people with their attention to their finances and to their money and their wealth growing.
Yeah.
You can describe it better than me, so I'm going to hand over to you now and just sort of describe a bit about what it is you do.
Thank you, Melissa. So I appreciate the introduction. So my business is Care to Grow. I've been in financial planning, building wealth for clients for, I'm showing my age now, but well over 20 years, closer to 30 years.
I was going to say.
Between you and I.
Yeah.
But what I found was there's a missing gap between financial well-being. So a lot of my clients that were coming in to see me already had $500,000, $1 million in superannuation or had a few investment properties. So they're already sort of set up. But where does someone go that's 30 years old, that's looking to have a better relationship with money, build confidence with money, and actually just start to work towards financial freedom if they don't have a lump sum? So they can't go to a financial planner because you need a lump sum to go to them.
Yeah.
And in the workplace, they don't talk about money either. So there's nowhere really to go in Australia for people to be coached around money, look at their mindset around money, and look at some of those limiting beliefs and behaviours around money. So
it's kind of the great unspoken, isn't it? Like you go to your accountant, you might have a financial advisor, you might chat at a barbecue with friends, maybe, but no one really wants to talk about money anyway, and people are embarrassed.
Yes.
And if you really crap with money, like quietly, most people.
Yes.
And when I say crap, you might have some money, but it's not working for you the best, and you feel, I can speak, really honestly, like you feel like it's this knowledge piece that you don't have, and it's a bit embarrassing if other people do have it, or they've got lots of investment properties or shares and you don't, and you don't know how to do it, and nobody can really help you because you don't have enough capital behind you, and there's often a mindset reason why you don't. It's not actually get a better job, earn more money.
That's right. And what I want to share is that I see a lot of clients, and it's around scarcity. So the majority of people I see is that they don't have enough money. So when we actually sit down, my first question to them is, enough for what? And it's really empowering to put that back on them. So I'm a firm believer, if you look at your life and look what you've got, a lot of people have got enough. But when you start comparing yourself to your next door neighbour, your friends who have got their kids through private school, they've got the boat, the car, they've got the holiday home and whatnot, that's when you sort of believe that you haven't got enough. So I've got to keep on working, I've got to bring more money in. But what they don't understand is to actually sit back and actually understand what they've got, and a lot of times it is enough. And people don't sort of, when they start setting goals for themselves, especially financial, what they actually look at is, I need $1 million, I need $3 million, I need this big lump sum of money. And again, I go back to that question, for what? A lot of people don't, when they set goals, it's not from the heart. So they generally just come up with a figure, which doesn't mean a lot to them. So they think they need to grow.
And it feels out of reach too. They can't relate to it. It's just a number. And it feels hopeless. And
what I see a lot of is that we talked about mindset around money. So again, looking at that scarcity model, and a lot of our teachings around money is from when we're 0 to 7. So at that time, we're just looking at where we fit in the world. We watch our mum and dads very closely. So we actually look at their attitude, their beliefs around money.
Oh my God.
But we take a lot of that on.
In our
programming, in our subconscious mind, we bring a lot of that on. So I've got a great saying that I sort of believe in, it resonates so well with me, is that your life is a printout of your subconscious mind. So that all that's really saying is that whatever you've sort of believed in when you were 0 to 7, it's sort of reflecting in your life. And a lot of people got sort of limiting beliefs around money.
So what's interesting, I'm going to pull you up, like 0 to 7, like that, we're not even conscious. Most people can't even remember life before 7, life before 10. So much of our beliefs around money and our ability to manage money is based in something we can't even remember.
Exactly, and it goes into our, as I said, our subconscious mind. So it's really just a program. If you sort of take the analogy of a computer, so it depends how that's programmed as what you can do. So a lot of people I deal with that in regard to money, there's certain money types that really can impact you in a negative way of building wealth and building financial freedom, which I'm big on. So, and some of those are sort of that innocent mindset where I'm just not going to look at money. I don't understand money. I haven't got a great relationship with money. If I put my head in the sand there, it'll just work, and it doesn't. And I find a lot of people sort of got a victim mentality with money where they've got a story.
Oh yeah,
around money.
Everyone, you go to a barbecue and no one will really tell the success story. They'll tell about the thing that got away or what they blew. Or it's always a negative, and it's not a great way to grow up, is it?
Exactly right. And what I'm teaching people is that these are sort of money types that you've got inbred, and that becomes your behaviour, becomes your programming in life. But that's something that was, in a sense, given to you. It's not you.
Yeah.
So it's someone else's story around money, and generally your mum and dad's or your community.
Or the carer.
The carer. So it's their beliefs, their behaviours. So you can actually change that. And it doesn't have to be part of your life, because if that's not serving you, if you've got financial stress in your life, you can actually change that. Look at the programming. Look at what's sitting behind there subconsciously. And the most common ones I see is there's that anxiety, sort of a love-hate relationship with money, again, limiting beliefs around money. So they just think that that's our lot in life.
So what does that look like? What's a kind of like a bit of a story with no names, of course? Because I'll probably know them. Like what's a story, like you say, like a love-hate with money. What does that look like?
Yeah, good question. So I'm working with a corporate woman, so quite successful from the outside, and she earns good money, so everything looks great from the outside. So what's happening, but is that she's got money coming in there. I call it the leaky bucket. So money's coming in there, money's going out everywhere. She doesn't know where it's going. She's living paycheck by paycheck. She doesn't have emergency funds, so she's always stressed. She's always having that financial stress. And what we did is we actually sat down, and she had credit card debt everywhere. She had personal loans. She was spending money back from her history in regard to hoarding. So that's what her parents did. So they hoarded food, they hoarded, and they sort of struggled in regard to...
So she had a modest background?
She had a modest background,
So she probably never believed that even what she deserved, what she was getting?
Exactly right,
Wow.
And that's quite common. So when we sat down and looked at some of her beliefs and behaviours around money, and actually started to look at how she's spending money, we came up with, we saved her about $800-900 a month. Just on savings, just by being smarter. She didn't really have to change her lifestyle, it's just being smarter.
Wow.
And then we looked at the mindset part. So we actually, and it can be quite emotional. So we actually sat down and said, what's your beliefs, what's your behaviours, what's your programming around money? And a lot of it was from her dad more than her mum. And when she actually understood that, she said, I want to change that. She's renting, she wants to buy a home, she's got all these dreams and all these things that she wants to achieve. She's on a good income, but she's just holding herself back. And it was, as I said, subconsciously she was holding herself back. So to bring that out and actually bring that into the conscious, and then go, we now have choice.
So I love that you just said that, bring it out. So she's not the 0 to 7-year-old girl anymore, bring it in the forefront. So now she understands, she's got some kind of knowledge around actually where this is coming from. And then I guess in that moment she can just like let it go.
You can let it go. Sometimes...
I was going to ask you this, how hard is it? You can't just let shit go.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And the research sort of says that it takes 21 days to change a behaviour. And a lot of this is deep-seated. And I've done some recent research that says maybe it takes up to 66 days to change. And a lot of people don't have that patience. So a lot of people will go, I've got to make this big change in my life there, change the way I look at things, have a better relationship with money, and they'll try for 10 days, 15 days, even 30 days.
Then they get busy.
They get busy and they go, I'm not getting anywhere with this. So, but it's sort of this daily programming that you need to do. It's a lot of sort of breathing into it. It's trying to get your body calm to sort of release a lot of these sort of negative beliefs.
So you make it physical as well as mental?
Physical and mental, yeah. You've got to do steps physically, but you also got to do steps spiritually and mentally to change the mindset.
Wow. So do you get some people that just, they even after 60 days or whatever, it's so ingrained they actually have to go and do other stuff, like it's, I don't know, like kinesiology or a psychology, like deep stuff, or is it no, you can pretty much get through to them? Or?
Sometimes I've got a sort of a team around me, so and that's important. So that collaboration piece, and the psychological side, sometimes it's too entrenched. So I do work around that, but even say going down the pathway of hypnosis or whatever, to really dig in deep and actually find out what's holding them back. So, and even like an understanding and awareness of what's going on in your life and what's the emotional side around money, still it's hard to shift sometimes. Depending on how deep seated it is. But I want to share with you one thing, and the main reason why I'm doing this is that financial stress in people's life, it has a major impact. So. Financial stress is a leading cause of relationship breakdown. And it's one of the leading causes of anxiety, depression and cancer. So, and why I share that, or what that actually means, is that you're constantly in this flight or fight.
Your adrenals are
what happens is that your sort of gut health, you're as they're running away from a bear that's not there. So your blood goes out to your extremities, to your hands and to your feet to go into this sort of fight or run away. But it's not serving your...
So your body's perceiving danger.
Exactly.
Wow.
And if that goes for a long time, it actually affects your health. It affects your relationship. There's so many people I know that fight about money in a relationship. And when you're under that stress, it becomes heightened and it sort of affects that relationship. So these are two things that happen. I'll go to a bit of a vulnerable moment with it. So
we love stories. They help everybody to really understand the point. It's awesome.
And as a financial planner, I knew how to build wealth for clients. I always was on good money, but I also found myself sabotaging. I was one of the best sabotagers ever made.
It's cool. Makes you relative.
But what happened, I was always under financial stress, and I actually found myself that I became quite sick. So I actually had prostate cancer at quite an early age and worked through that. But then what I also found is that my relationship with money sort of affected my relationship with my family and my wife. So I married for 22 years, and it just came to a point there that we just weren't connecting, we were fighting about money, so we separated and divorced. And so what I was saying before about what it does to people, and that was sort of that anxiety, going into a bit of a depression, and really how that affected the relationship, and it was all around financial stress. But I had my life over 10, 15 years and didn't know how to deal with it.
Probably no one to talk to.
Exactly.
And you're making good money, you don't understand.
And it was all just the limiting beliefs that I had.
From childhood?
From childhood.
Yeah, wow.
And then the freedom of just saying that I didn't have an awareness of it. It was in my subconscious mind, and I did some work around that over the last 5-6 years, and to actually have such an awareness, and then and I can go back there, but consciously I can just see it happening and just sort of switch it off, going, that's not healthy for me, it's not serving me to be financial free and to live my life that I want to live. So, and that's just so empowering to actually, as I said, catch myself going back into that zone and making changes straight away and just staying on track to build that financial freedom that everyone deserves. But,
isn't that beautiful? And like just what you were saying, it's when you ask clients, what do you want? And they say, freedom, financial freedom. Well, what is that? So now I imagine you're really connected to your goal, and you do know what it is and what it looks like, and you've got a plan. You move towards it, and you believe it, you can do it, you can execute it. I don't even imagine. I mean, like, we live in a really nice part of Sydney. There's a lot of families around us, a lot of self-employed people around here, a lot of businesses, but I reckon they're all living, the rumours are that there's so much credit and leasing and not a lot of stuff is actually owned physically, and they're just in debt up to their eyeballs, and I can't imagine the stress of keeping up with the Joneses. And if everyone's living like this and no one's actually having these honest conversations and just sort of going, I don't know how much more I can hang on. And their marriage is breaking up. Man, I can't even... with the work you're doing, it's wonderful.
yeah, it's there's a lot of work to do.
Mm.
There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It is my mission. It's my passion. So it makes it easier when you're living your why, your passion.
Yeah, what a beautiful, not many people can say that they sincerely live their why.
Yeah. And the thing that I see missing is that, in my view, when you sort of set your goals, set whatever financial freedom means to you, one has got to come from your heart. And as I go back to what I said before, where someone says, I've got to have $1 million or $3 million, why? What does that mean? It's got to come from your mind, but it's also got to come from your body. And I want to share that with you because a lot of your body is where your emotion is, and it's, again, a lot of where your subconscious lies. And you can actually sort of set yourself a goal, but if your subconscious doesn't agree with that goal,
oh my God, yeah,
you won't get there.
Totally agree with you. You'll be always fighting.
Yeah.
It's internally.
Exactly.
And
you'll
sick.
sabotage.
Yeah.
You'll do things there to make sure that you don't get to the goal that you're after in your conscious mind.
So what's an example then, because I love the stories, what's an example of sabotaging?
Yeah, so I'll give it to me again,
Yeah.
so it's personal, but so I was doing quite well, as I said, on a good income. I did 3 investments that I knew weren't great.
Yeah.
I'm quite smart when it comes to investments, and I still put money into different ventures that I knew were at a high risk. It didn't really make sense. The numbers didn't really stack up. And I lost a lot of money for the family, and at one point put the house at risk, which it just didn't make sense to me. I'm going, I know it didn't make sense, and I still did it. And that was me just saying, who am I to have $1 million or $2 million?
So that's what you were trying to sabotage, that if it actually did work, who are you to have that much money?
Exactly, yeah.
So that was the belief. And then, so then you just did all sorts of weird shit.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm imagining credit card debt is another classic sabotage.
Credit card debt, and people just trying to live in the moment, live now. So they're going, and this is sort of keeping up with the Jones, as you said before, about if someone's got a beautiful car, is it leased? Do they even own it? But people drive past there going, the Smiths have got a new car again, or they've got a new boat, whatever, but they don't understand that they might be living on credit.
Yeah, they own nothing.
Exactly. And they're just saying, I want what they've got. So they'll go and do the same thing. So they'll go into credit, or they'll go into a situation where it's not serving them, just to try and keep up with appearances or keep up with the same people in their networks, whatever the case may be. So, but it's not healthy.
God, no. So what are some other, just so people can recognise, because I reckon people might not even identify that what they're doing. Like for me, I'll be really personal because you've been personal. Like I take ages to invoice sometimes. When I'm really busy, I'll do the work first, and I know where it comes from. It comes from because I don't want to let people down.
Yeah.
But I know where the deeper thing where it comes from is that I actually want them to like me.
Yeah.
I really understand that. Now, they're not going to like me if I don't do their work and I send out the invoices.
Yeah.
But they'll really like me if I just keep the work done, and of course that's part of the delivery of the service, but I've got to be really honest about where it's coming from. Also, invoicing on time and chasing money that's owed to me is serving me and my business, and that's helping my family, but I'll put other people's businesses first and do the work and then maybe get around invoicing later.
Yeah.
So, that could really be a sabotage, really.
No question.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have thought of that as a sabotage until I sort of paid attention to what you talk about.
And isn't it funny how it became an awareness? So it just bubbles up there, and that sort of mindset around money is a sort of a martyr mindset, where you're putting everyone first. And I say that more with women, where they take on such a caring role. So just saying, I'll be of service to other people, and I'll put myself last, and I'll do all the work there, make them look good.
God, that's fascinating.
And then you're going, well, that's right, I've got to get paid. And then, so it's putting yourself last there, and that's, if you continue that, or even people see that. The interesting thing with a lot of the limiting beliefs and behaviours that I had, and then to change that, so I bought some investment properties and really building our future. And my son and my daughter, I don't lecture them or educate them around money in a sense. Very hard for a dad to do that, but so they actually started looking at what I was doing.
So you're modelling good behaviour.
Exactly, and they said, Dad, how do I get into an investment property?
Yeah.
Dad, what can I do in regard to some of the stuff you're doing? So it's just how you're showing up, and a completely different energy, different mindset, very empowering.
Well, here's a good question. So we framed our kids unconsciously from 0 to 7 and taught them all our crappy money behaviours. And now you're a great example, and I'm a good example too, because I'm a bit similar to you. I don't think I'm as far along as you are in the growth, but So you can unteach. Now your kids, like they're sort of, how old are your kids?
24 and 20.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so they're developed. My kids are slightly younger, but they're like 17, 19, 20. I probably didn't teach them great things from 0 to 7. They would have seen me in that little martyr phase, like working like a dog, making good money, but the money was just money in, money out, money in. I was like that chick in the with all the wind blowing machine trying to catch my own money.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, that's me. And so that's what they were shown, unfortunately. Can you just re-show them a new way when they're in their like teenage years or their 20s or 30s by modelling good behaviour? Is that enough to help change their money mindset?
It's certainly a good start because, as I said, I'm doing a women's series at the moment about empowering women, and it's about storytelling. So it's not educating or telling people what to do. They're just sharing their story, how they've used their voice and visibility to be thought leaders and to be real leaders in their own right, whether that's supporting other women, business communities. So that is one part of it, but then it's also getting them to understand what their sort of money type is. What are some of their beliefs around that? And when they start going down the pathway going that they start to see that they can actually have an investment property, whatever, they start to get excited.
Just believing. I guess, if you grew up and your family... So I grew up, my family are farmers, small business and very small business. What's interesting is I was very scarcity, farmers, living on overdrafts. It was tough, droughts, it's tough. And then my parents came into money later on because, all their hard work over those years paid off. And they had money to spend. But I was raised in that lack period. And my little sister, who's 8 years younger than me, was raised in the other period. And because I'm always blown away how awesome she is with money. She's so good. And I'm like, teach me what you So that's now it's all making,
interesting.
It's only the pennies dropping for me now.
Yeah.
How different she is to me.
Wow.
Same house, but different time periods.
Yeah. And what she saw. And
her experience was different.
Her experience,
Our holidays were camping. Her holidays were 5-star resorts. Big difference.
Massive difference.
I never went overseas. She went overseas. Because, she's the last born. No, I'm not resentful, but I'm just trying to point out. Where this stuff comes from is amazing. So this is the kind of conversations you have with people.
Exactly, And they become quite emotional. So
I bet.
When people look back and they see the patterns that they've sort of had in their life, and a lot of times they don't see that until you actually sit down there, create an environment where it's quite safe for them to actually talk about money, because there is a lot of emotions around money. It can be shame, it can be embarrassment, but it doesn't have to be, because that's the previous, it's not even you. It's your programming. It's really something that was programmed into you. Call yourself a computer and just saying, I'm going to put in another program.
How do you break through that shame? Because I've been in that place with money and stuff. I've made some bad decisions with money, and it was just through lack of education. And really, I should have just I've made some great decisions with money too. And instead of focusing on those, I've just looked at the failures and the shame around that, and the silent shame around that. That's sad. How do you deal with that with people?
I think it's people want to tell their story. People are craving to tell their story, but they just don't know who to tell it to. There's a lot of trust.
There's got to be a safe environment.
Exactly. So when you actually start meeting with the client there and you start unravelling their money story, it gives them such a freedom where, I want to tell you this, I haven't even told my partner, and off they go, just releasing that shame, releasing some of that embarrassment, and just saying, I'll tell you my full story because I want to move forward. I want change. I want to do something different. I want to have a life where it's not sort of financial stress that I continually have in my body.
That's your body,
and that's exciting. I do a little bit of Psyche. I don't know whether you know that, but it's really...
What is it?
Psyche, so it's really understanding energy, conscious and subconscious mind. And what I can do is that if I sit down with a client and they'll tell me something that they want to achieve consciously, I can do some energy work with them and find out within 5 minutes whether the body agrees with it.
If it's congruent with the body. I love that. Because I do kinesiology.
I'm
going to have it done to me. And similar thing. So respect what... That's awesome.
Your body never lies.
Body never lies. Our brain will lie to us a million times
exactly
over.
Right. Your body,
Oh, God, I love what you're doing.
But that's exciting. So it's just sitting down going, well, if that's going to sort of hold you back from really achieving what you said you want to achieve, in a conscious sense there, what do we need to work on? Where are the blocks?
So then if somebody it's not resonating with their body and their body's actually sending the signals energetically that, oh, you know, you just said you want to make $10 million, but that's not congruent.
Yep.
What then? What happens then?
But then we've got to work out two things. One is why the subconscious is saying that.
Yeah.
So again, that's going back and finding out what those beliefs, what those behaviours are.
Mm.
And then understanding where that comes from. Like, why do you want to achieve $10 million?
Yeah.
What's the heart saying? Yeah, so it's going, and it's really around painting that picture around what does it mean, family, how I live, joy, excitement. So that's the storytelling that you've got to resonate with, going, I want this sort of money. I get that you need the money, but what's the experience? So if you can get your actual heart, if you can get your mind, and if you can get your body aligned to what you're trying to achieve, you will succeed. You'll get to that financial freedom, which is exciting, that joy and abundance that everyone should have.
So the heart and the mind and the body has to connect.
Yeah.
No one talks about this. I've never had it.
Well, it's funny, and this is the financial planning industry, and this is what I spent 20 years in, where it's going, what do you want to achieve? I want to get to $1 million or $2 million, whatever the case may be. So what they do is okay, you got $300,000, we've got to invest it this way to get to that, but what does it mean? And what's your relationship with money? How do you wake up every morning thinking about money? Because generally, if you're looking at Australia, they've been in the workforce for, say, over 30 years, they've got $500,000 in super, but that's not something that they've saved.
And a lot of people watching this will be business owners.
Yeah.
So chances are they don't have anywhere near that much money in their super. It's going to be the opposite.
Exactly.
And they're living on a dream that they're going to be able to sell their business.
And a lot of business owners that I speak with, they don't charge enough for what they're worth.
Yeah.
That's a value discussion around money. That's a sort of a belief around money. Again, I think for you to share that before, where you're invoicing and you do it after, whatever. Again, that's a money.
Put myself last.
Exactly, yeah.
And I never could get my head around. My accountant always say, pay yourself first. I'm kind of like, well, no, because I owe blah, 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 blah. And then I've got to pay wages first. Like for me, of course you've got to pay wages first.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you're part of the wages. Pay yourself first. And I could not get my head around it. Now I get my head around it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't valuing me. I was totally in Mata, which I think is the farmer background.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's interesting. So now I charge what I believe is value in regard to what I provide.
Yeah.
But before that, someone said to me, what's your fee? And I explained it, and I explained it in the sense that it resonates with the value that people receive, and they're quite happy to pay it. And before I would have struggled with that.
Yeah.
Before I put myself out there going, well, I can't charge that. It's not, I don't think I'm valuable enough, or I'm good enough to actually charge that. And now I think I'm great in charging it. But just changing that mindset, just going, I've got so much value. I can change people's lives in regard to, again, moving from financial stress to financial freedom in a way that serves them. That's a massive difference.
So do you have some tips, like 3 or 4 good tips just for people who recognise and resonate with some of these stories about how to sort of like get some quick, nothing's quick, but just to get a little bit of movement and a little bit of, positiveness around their relationship with money, so then if they want to keep growing, then they can come and then meet you and do it that way?
That's a good question, and I think understanding the flow of money. So what I mean by that is I hate the word budget. I think most people do, so I call it an intentional spending plan. So it gives you a bit of control back.
But it's more conscious and it's more honest.
And you're in control. So
it's positive.
It's positive, and you're seeing the money coming in there. You're watching how the money goes out, and I don't know whether Australians are sort of lazy there, but we just pay money out either to banks where if we sort of renegotiated would save $5,000, $7,000, $8,000 a year. Electricity, it goes on and on. If you actually sat down and looked at what your expenses are, and then looked at, is that still in your best interest, you can save a fortune straight away. So it's just being mindful of how the money's flowing out from you.
So really watching and paying attention to
and have a look at it. Like if you've got a loan, have a look at the rate. Go to the market, say, is that a good rate? Or I'm going to go to a broker, or I'm going to go to someone to see whether I can get a better rate for me.
I couldn't even tell you what my mortgage rate is, isn't it?
Some people don't even know. Some people don't even know where their mortgage is, what bank.
Yeah.
And the mortgage industry actually say that people paying about 1 to 1.5% over what they should.
Yeah.
So if you've got a debt in Sydney in particular of $500,000, 700,000, whatever it is, we're talking $10,000 or $8,000 a year.
Yeah,
that you're paying every year
10 years, it's $100,000.
for the luxury of
Yeah.
a bank holding your your loan.
Yeah.
So that's just one example, but it's really then just saying, I mean, we sat down, my wife and I, and we wanted to go on a trip, so we actually looked at even how we drink coffee, and we said, one, if we can just cut back 2 coffees a day, as an example, that was going to save us $4,000 a year. That's
Holy cow.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, just do the maths.
And so we looked at our
Wow.
finance, we looked at that, and you suddenly look at that and going, I can just make these changes. They're not big changes, and then I can save, as I said, $8,000, $16,000, whatever it is per year. So this is money flow. So people have a scarcity, not enough, but if you don't appreciate what you've got and you're letting it flow back out, will money still come into you? This is the whole theory around.
So that just resonated.
Yeah.
Because I love gratitude and I do my gratitude journal and everything. But what you just said then, if you don't appreciate what you've got, why will the universe give you any more?
Exactly right. Exactly
if you're not looking after, not clutching onto you, but just looking after.
Yeah.
What you've been gifted.
Yeah. That's a light bulb.
Yeah.
But the other tip I'll give is that you really need to have a look at the money, like what you own and what you owe. And I think a lot of people don't do that. That's your power. You've worked hard for that. And sometimes you've actually, got a home that's gone up in value by a fair bit, especially around capital cities. But and if you haven't got a lot of money that you actually owe as a business owner or even as an individual, you can just have a look at how that could work a bit harder for you. Just start understanding, if I've got this home that's worth so much money, what can it do for me?
Yeah.
And just start empowering yourself to say, I can do something with that. So I can start building some sort of, further money. I can start working towards financial freedom. What does that mean? So these are 2 things that you can actually do straight away.
Yeah.
They can make a difference, and they can make a really big difference.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you? Because I reckon, and I've been really resonating with this, I reckon a lot of people will. It's the great unspoken thing that people don't talk about. And if you're a professional, you could even be, referring to you. So how can people get in touch with you?
So the best way is to go through my website, which is www.caretogroww.com.au. And we organise a discovery meeting, a free consultation. I'm a big believer in sitting down with all people for half an hour, understand where they're at, what they're looking to achieve there, and what this sort of money coaching, money mindset actually looks like and how it can be of value to them. So there's a lot of value in that. Take me up on it.
Yeah. And I'll put all your socials into the notes with this, because that's how, we've known each other for ages, but I reconnected with you and I saw a LinkedIn post where you were talking all about procrastination and you did a video and it was really cool, so you do good stuff on the socials as well. So even if you're not ready, because you've got to be ready, part of your sabotage could be that you're actually not ready to have the conversation. That in alone is speaking volumes anyway if you're not ready. But the point is you might just want to get a little bit of just like a little bit more information, just make sure you're ready in time, so watch you on the socials as well. I love what you're doing. I really, really believe in it. I think particularly from a female perspective, there's so many, families are breaking up these days. There's so many women out there that are having to get out there and after maybe 10 years or 15 years not in the workforce or not in a full-time, and then they might find themselves with a whole ton of money, don't know how to manage it, or find themselves with no money and don't know how to look after their future. But it's never too late, is it?
Never too late.
Yeah, that sounds corny, but even if you start at, I'm 49, even if you start at 49, it's better to start today than wait another 5 years or 10 years.
And it's a release of that financial stress, it's pretty amazing. So it doesn't matter where you are in life really. It's just saying that you have got the right to actually look at things differently and actually have that financial freedom. Financial freedom is pretty powerful.
Yeah, and I think we just say the words and you hear them. I glaze over now because you'll hear it a professional person say, financial freedom, blah, blah, blah. But they're not having these level conversations what you're talking about, which is a different kind of financial freedom, which is actually a legitimate emotional the body, the heart connection to from financial freedom. What that means is completely different.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little overwhelmed. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go meditate. Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciated it.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And thanks, guys, for tuning in. And if you want to have a chat with Michael or myself, Michael obviously about the financial freedom and me about marketing or branding your business. You know how to get in touch, and I will see you on the next episode.